Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. I don't usually do these spontaneous episodes, but I felt like I needed to hit record today and share some thoughts while everything is still fresh in my mind. We're here in August 2025, and if you've been following the news, you know there have been ongoing protests across Indonesia regarding MPs and their allowances. Now, I've been watching how different media outlets and analysts are covering these events, and honestly, it feels like a lot of them are focusing on the more dramatic, almost entertainment-focused aspects of what's happening. But as someone who's been observing this closely, I'm seeing some interesting patterns that I think are worth talking about. So let me paint you a picture of what I'm seeing. Traditionally, when we think about protests in Indonesia, we think about crowds gathering around government buildings, right? Public infrastructure, official spaces. And yes, sometimes things get heated, property might get damaged, gates might get broken, that sort of thing. But here's where it gets interesting. When public property gets damaged, who pays for the repairs? Well, it's taxpayer money. So in a way, the very people protesting end up footing the bill for the cleanup. It's this weird cycle that I've been thinking about a lot. But something different happened this time. I'm thinking specifically about what went down at lawmaker Ahmad Saroni's house in Jakarta. Instead of targeting a government building, protesters went to his personal residence. His electric car was damaged, and from what I understand, various items were taken from his home, luxury bags, a safe, other valuables. Now, I'm not here to judge whether this was right or wrong. That's not my place. But from a purely observational standpoint, it's fascinating to think about why this might be happening and what it might represent. When I look at this incident, a few things stand out to me. First, there's the accessibility factor. A private home is, generally speaking, less fortified than a government building. It's a different kind of target entirely. Then there's what I'd call the visibility factor. When someone's personal residence is involved, it potentially gives the public a glimpse into how that person lives. In Saroni's case, we're talking about luxury items, expensive cars, and this is happening during debates about housing allowances that, from what I've read, are quite substantial compared to average wages. Some people might look at that contrast and see it as evidence of something worth protesting about. Others might view the targeting of personal property as crossing a line. I think both perspectives are worth considering. There's also something to be said about the impact on regular people's daily lives. When protests shut down major roads or business districts, it affects everyone, people trying to get to work, small business owners, families just trying to go about their day. When the focus shifts to individual residences, that broader disruption might be reduced. Now, I should mention that this approach isn't necessarily going to work for every issue or in every situation. It seems like it might be particularly relevant when there are questions about individual officials, conduct, or lifestyle choices that people feel strongly about. The allowances issue is one example, and the anger following Afan Kurniawan's death is another context where we've seen similar responses. I keep wondering how officials and security forces are going to respond to this shift. Will it lead to more security around officials' homes? Will it open up different kinds of dialogue? Will it escalate tensions? These are the questions I'm thinking about as I watch this unfold. And let's be honest, this is all happening during Prabowo's presidency, so there's definitely a political dimension to consider as well. One thing I always try to remember when I'm following these kinds of events is that there are usually multiple information streams happening at once. Government communications, social media discussions, traditional media coverage, influencer takes, everyone's trying to shape how we understand what's happening. I'd encourage everyone listening to consume news from multiple sources and think critically about what you're reading and hearing. There's always more than one perspective on complex events like these. Also, if you're someone who's participating in any kind of civic engagement, Just be aware that we live in an age of digital surveillance. The things you post online, the photos you share, the places you go, these can all be tracked and recorded in ways that might have consequences down the line. Speaking of safety, if you're someone who might find yourself in situations involving tear gas or other crowd control measures, I've heard that liquid antacid can be more effective for eye irritation than some other remedies people talk about. And please, if you're documenting events or sharing content online, think carefully about whether you're including other people's faces or identifying information. Once something is online, you don't really control where it goes or how it gets used. If you do choose to participate in any kind of public demonstration, consider your personal safety, covering distinctive features, thinking about what you wear, that kind of thing. And remember, there's strength in numbers, but also responsibility that comes with that. I guess what I'm really trying to say is that we might be witnessing some kind of evolution in how people choose to express their political views in Indonesia. Whether that's a positive development or a concerning one probably depends on your perspective and values. What I think we can all agree on is that it's worth paying attention to these patterns and thinking critically about what they might mean for the future of civic engagement in our country. Thanks for listening to me work through these thoughts out loud. Hey, if you're interested in more of my analysis on political and social issues, you might want to check out my book, titled Why Mass Demonstrations Struggle to Overthrow Government Regimes in the Modern Era. Stay safe out there, everyone, always watching you.